If you're a woman or a man, this is obviously for both, dating after 40, 50, 60, gosh, 70, I get lots of comments there too. What are the best sites that aren't so darn intimidating?
Did you push record?
Thank you so much for joining us again today on Second Act TV. I'm so happy to welcome Tina Jesso back to Second Act. Tina, thanks so much for joining me again.
It's great to be here. Thanks for having me back.
Well, Tina is a dating coach. If you've missed some of our first segments, we had some great conversations. We'll link to those. Today, what I would like to concentrate on is that trepidatious online dating that so many people just hate. And I get that. I get that. People are frustrated with it. It is, however, as statistics clearly show, this is where we meet people now. And our whole world has thrown us into an online environment that we really just need to embrace. So, each time we try to chip away at something to hopefully make this more palatable. One of the things that I've really gotten a lot of comments on are, can you please do an updated video on sites and apps out there? That's a terrific question, because when I was on, it was 8 years ago. That whole world has even changed. So, Tina, I'm going to throw it over to you. If you're a woman or a man, this is obviously for both, dating after 40, 50, 60, gosh, 70, I get lots of comments there too. What are the best sites that aren't so darn intimidating?
Yeah, such a great question, Silka, and especially at the beginning of the new year, right? We just have this thing and this energy of having a fresh start. And why not have a fresh start to finding love? I've been on multiple dating websites in my research, and last year I was on 11 different dating websites at the same time. So I had lots of opportunity to compare. And where I think it really starts with, Silka, is with self-knowledge and knowing what you're looking for. And what are you ready for at this particular time in your life? And if for you, your values are such that your religion is really important, or ethnicity and things like that, there are sites that cater to that. Right. So, and if you are on a limited budget, for example, and you just want something really casual, there are free websites where you can go and interact with people and not have to pay a thing. But if you want to go further and have more meaningful connections, if you don't have a lot of time, and you really want to save time, however, there are websites that can help you with that, as long as you're willing at the beginning to invest a little bit of time. There's sites like eHarmony, for example, and Elite Singles, where you will fill out a questionnaire of about 20 minutes. And basically, it's about who you are, your interests, how you think you'd like to live the rest of your life, your values, pretty important. And then on a daily basis, you get your matches. So you don't have to do the swiping and spend an hour on online dating every day, because it's sent to you in your inbox, and then you can interact from there. You have to pay for these sites. So the more you want out of the sites, the more serious the interactions that you want, because you're really looking for, because that's really important to define well as well, right? Do you want a serious relationship, or are you looking for something a lot more casual?
Yeah. Let me make or clarify one point that you just made, which I think is important, and people who have never done this might not pick up on that, is that there are sites where you do your own searches, meaning that there's parameters that based on what you put in about yourself and what other people put in, such as age, group, what they're, all that kind of stuff. You do your own searches. And then, as you mentioned, eHarmony, and I think you said Elite Singles, it doesn't work like that. It's they search for you based on a long profile that you fill out. So it's more of like an algorithm or matchmaking thing. I think that's an important distinction to make, because that alone may draw somebody to, no, I want to do my own, I want to do my own thing. And God, I kind of like the idea of just having it done for me based on what the computer might, the computer says.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. But you know what? It's also important to note if you do your own research and you look at reviews, for example, the ones that seem to keep coming up are the eHarmonies, of course, Elite Singles, Match.com. Bumble is another great site. And for people who aren't aware of it, what's really cool is that it's really built for women in the sense that we get to choose. It's not the men that are, liking us or texting us, although they can't interact until we give them permission, which is a really great concept. So that's interesting as well. However, you have to pay for that in order to have that level of interaction. But from there, what I would like to suggest, or what might be a good idea, especially if it's your first time online dating, go for a generic site which has a lot of profiles. And then from there, based on your interactions and your dates that you're having, you can see, well, maybe I really need to have someone who's of my religion, for example. You know what I mean? Then you could go to a site that caters to that particular religion or ethnicity. Or even if on the other side of the coin, and I know this sounds light and funny, but it does exist. If you really have a thing for guys with beards, there is a there is a dating website that caters to that. It's called Bristol, for example. If you like talking about things that you hate, Silka, can you believe this? There's actually a dating site for you.
Oh.
It's called Hater Dater. I mean, it's just crazy, right? And if you don't have a lot of time and you want to just hook up with people at lunchtime, there's a dating site for that, right? So start out with something general with one of the top ones that I just mentioned. Even OK Cupid, for example, is a good one. And then from there, you can kind of decide what you want to do. There's everything that's out there. There's everything for everybody's taste. So yeah, that's just get started. Just get started to
I
begin with.
think another like a question I would have, and I actually do have, because again, when I was doing it, there really weren't that I recall any dating apps. Certainly not big enough to where they got my attention. I did Match.com. Great time. Met my boyfriend. We're together 8 years, and
Right.
going strong. So I know it works, and that this is why I can talk about this with enthusiasm. And I have friends that have the same experience as I've mentioned before. Not everyone has that experience. And we're not going to go into the pitfalls and all that in this video. We've done that. We've covered that. I'll link to those. Yes, there are scammers. Yes, that, there are insincere people who are married, all that exists. But it's really up to us to become aware and then
Yes.
sift through that. So all that exists everywhere, including in real life.
Yeah.
They're everywhere. So let's just approach this with that for a minute. No matter how you feel about online dating, but then getting back again to what sites work best with apps. Do they tend to be like this whole thing? I never did. Is it a Tinder that you swipe back and forth? Which one do you
Yeah,
use?
they almost all use. Yeah, that's a really good question. They almost all swipe right now, like OkCupid, for example, definitely Tinder. Zoosk, for example, is another big one.
There's a
Lava Life.
huge one, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But you brought up a really good point. So if you're more comfortable using your computer for this type of thing, not every dating site has has something that you could use that is actually based on a website, right? It might just be an app, like Hinge, for example. It's just on an app. And this is where the trends are going, right? Because everybody is accessing everything on their smart device these days, right? So this, if you're comfortable with that, and it's really easy to use. Now, if you have a site, for example, that you're on like eHarmony, maybe you want to access it on your laptop simply because it's a little more intricate. If you want the easy ones, then definitely an app will get you there. But once again, it's really important to make the distinction. Almost all of the apps you can interact with people, and it's for free, which is kind of cool. And then from there, what you can do is decide which apps seem to resonate with you more, where you're finding more interesting candidates for yourself that you find easier to use. And then maybe you can get a subscription there. And the subscriptions are really worth it because you want to interact fully on the site and get all of the matches. Sometimes when it's for free, they'll only allow you to see a certain number of matches, and then you get the blurry face, and then you have to pay if you want to go any further, right? If you want the full experience, and it's not that expensive, it's anywhere from maybe $9 a month on up.
Yeah. Well, this is another thing to distinguish. I think it's really important is the paid versus not paid. If you're offered a non-paid option, you are being. I mean, let's face it. They're in business to make money. That's okay. That
Yeah.
we're this is a capitalistic society. Yeah, that's what we do. It's great. Uh, you may not. You may think that you're communicating with somebody. You might send a message to somebody that's being shown as being online, but they're not getting your message because they didn't pay. So stuff like that can really cause some issues, thinking you might be being rejected when you're not. So again, I think what I'm trying to say is, when you do start, it's take it all with a grain of salt until you
Yes.
actually meet someone, have interacted with them, and then they don't answer or reject you. That's different. But right up front, just know that just the whole marketing structure of the site may be working against you a little bit.
Yeah.
Do you have an opinion on what is there a difference between the paid and non-paid? I have an opinion on it, but what do you think? Is one better than the other?
Definitely, because you get full access to all of the services. And I have a feeling that we don't know what's going on behind the scenes on the dating sites. And I have a feeling they're rewarding the people that are paying because they want you to have an enriched experience. Whereas they're just feeding you enough of an experience if you're on there for free in order to get you to pay essentially. And you're setting yourself up for, you just mentioned that, right? To certain, because you don't really understand how the algorithms work, or how the sites are working, so you think that people are either not responding to you or rejecting you, when in fact that's not the case at all,
Right,
right?
right.
They just want to encourage you to pay. There's another thing that you should know as well, and then on some websites, for example, there are actually fake profiles,
Mm.
right? So somebody may reach out to you or vice versa, and then they drop off the face of the planet, or they don't respond to you in the beginning. But again, like you said, Silka, this is such great advice you just gave. Just please don't take it personal, because they may have these profiles there to show, okay, we're a great site because we have so many profiles, and look at all of these attractive singles.
Yeah, and I know there's site coming up left and right. I've gotten four different people have approached me, wanting me to do endorsements for this new thing, and it's like unless I know something about it, I'm not going to do that. And I would encourage anybody to just go with the big brands that have some history, that have the statistics, that are the leaders of the industry, that are the Fords, the clean. I mean the that that they have something to lose if they violate their brand image, and that doesn't mean that you're not going to get fake sites and all that. I get all that, but there is something to be said about like a Match.com, which is all the issues that they have. That is where most real people are, right?
Right, right. Exactly. I would give exactly the same recommendation, Silka, to go with one of the bigger sites, because their reputation is on the line, that's for sure. And just keep in mind that it can take a lot of time. And just one bit, do you mind if I give just one bit of advice
No,
as
no, I
people
want you
start
to give all
jumping
kinds
in?
of advice.
As people start jumping into this, just please be aware that it can be a tremendous waste of time,
Hmm.
right? So one of the first things is just to set yourself a goal on a daily basis, because the average, I think we talked about this on another conversation, that the average time that a dater, a single person, spends on online dating is about 10 hours a week.
Mm.
Right? 10 hours a week. You could have a PhD at the end of a year and a half if you spent that amount of time, if you allocated that amount of time. So, therefore, just set yourself a certain amount of time every day to go on and check the profiles. Because there are so many profiles out there, especially with the big boys, what you're going to see is that it's like looking for a needle in a haystack. You know what I mean? But the thing of it is like I said, just be very clear in your profile as to who you are, what you're looking for. Add the most recent pictures, some really good pictures of yourself. And then from there, just put in that time budget every day. When you go in, just say, I'm going to be in there a half an hour, and that's it. And then as fast as possible, take it off texting, because some people are serial texters, and they can go on for, I've seen people go on for days and weeks with texting. As fast as possible, that you can get somebody on a FaceTime to verify the pictures, to see if there's a possible connection. And either way, whether it's someone that works out, that it does result in a date or a get together, or it doesn't, you're that much, either way, it's a win, because you're that much closer to finding someone that is, going to be suitable for you. And look at any potential lesson that you've learned through that encounter.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. No,
Mhm.
that's great, great, great advice. And like I said, we've done a bunch of videos on the right mindset, the perfect profile, the pictures, and all that. We will link to all that. Really, the intent here is to just discuss about sites and how they work themselves. And we are at the end of our segment. One last piece of advice I want to give, and you may or may not agree with this, is don't. I would recommend do a paid site. I think you get what you pay for, but don't do more than like a month. I know that's the high, like with Match, for example, that's the highest amount, and then they want to draw you into 12 months. Just do it for a month, because after that, you're going to have a really good feel for if you like this environment or not, and then you can always sign up later. But I know after a month, I was like done, and then come back and maybe a month later again, and all of a sudden you're new and your profile rises to the top.
Yeah, yeah.
So I will let you close on any last words and advice on dating apps and sites.
Yeah, the number one thing is to get started and be prepared to put you generally in life in general, right, Silka? We get back what we put into it, right? So the more you put into creating a great profile, whatever site that you're on, and you're honest about who you are and your pictures and all of that, you will attract something similar back to you. And just keep in mind that whatever site that you're on, one of the biggest, I think, things that you can do to get great results is to realize that your profile is not just made to attract people, but also to repel people, right? Because you want to attract the right people. So by repelling, what that means is that you're not wasting as much time responding and saying no, or having dates that don't work out. Right. But the first thing is to get going. And I totally agree with you. Go for one of the main sites. Just Google the top 10 dating sites that are out there. And at the same time, go for a paid package for the short term. And if it doesn't work out with that site, try another dating site. Yeah, manage your expectations. Rome was not built in a day, right? So it may take you a month, or it may take you a year. I don't know how long it took you, Silka, to meet your love, to meet Paul,
About
but
a year. I
about a
was I
year.
was at about a year. Yeah,
Yeah,
maybe.
that's average.
So
That's
no,
about
and,
average.
and like I said, I enjoyed the process. I made a point to enjoy it. So again, we will link to all of our past videos where, yeah, mindset is very, very important in this. I will also link to a list of the main sites that some of the ones that we refer to. And again, you can Google it, but maybe this is a little bit helpful. There's a couple articles I thought were helpful, so we'll do that. And Tina, we will see you on another segment soon of Second Act TV.
Okay. Bye, everyone.
If you haven't done so already, please be sure to subscribe to our channel. The button is right over here. Just click on through to YouTube, and when you see the little bell right next to the subscribe button, hit that too, and we'll notify you every time we launch a new video. See you next time.